제가 수동차 안 탄 지 1년 정도 된 것 같은데 자전거처럼 까먹지가 않아요. 그냥 오토파일럿 같아요, 진짜. 일단 갑시다. 저희가 방금 도착했는데 길들이 막 막았거든요, 공사 때문에. 근데 다행히 아버지가 거의 인간 지도 수준이어서 저희가 다행히 잘 찾았고 도착했습니다. 근데 문제는 주차장 찾기가 좀 힘들어가지고 저희가 계속 왔다 갔다 했거든요. 옛날에 다른 데에 있었는데 그게 옮겼고 입구 찾기 힘들고 동물원이랑 지금 합쳐가지고 진짜 헷갈렸어요, 들어왔을 때. 근데 다행히 잘 도착했습니다. 벌써부터 여기 옛날 버스가 보여요. 여러분들이 버밍엄 배경 넷플릭스 드라마 피키 블라인더스 봤는지 잘 모르겠지만 여기 블랙컨트리 뮤지엄은 촬영지 여러 가지 중에 하나입니다. 여기 입구 들어가기 전에 여기 옛날 옷이랑 원래 쇠 만드는 데여서 여기 체인도 해놨고 식탁이랑 뭐 약간 제품 같은 거 다 해놨어요. 볼 수 있게. 여기 보면 옛날 버스도 많아요. 여기 울버햄턴 버스, 황희찬 아니면 사람들이 부르는 황시찬 팀 울버햄턴 버스는 여기 있고 여기 여러 가지 옛날 블랙컨트리 버스들이에요. 신기하죠? 엄마가 방금 얘기했는데 여기 옛날 트램이래요. 근데 영국에 비가 많이 오는데 만약에 비 올 때 여기 위에 앉았으면 비 다 맞았을 텐데요. 그쵸? 아까 계속 비가 흐르고 추웠는데 지금 날씨가 뭔가 괜찮아진 것 같은데요? 일단 다 야외니까 비가 오지 않으면 좋겠어요. 아까 날씨가 엄청 설렁하고 비가 계속 오니까 제가 일단 얇은 패딩을 입었거든요. 한국에 지금 엄청 더울 텐데 영국이 거의 겨울 날씨예요. 옛날에 엄청 달랐는데 이거 다 새로 해놨어요. 아마 피키 블라인드스 찍고 나서 다 업그레이드 한 것 같아요. 방금 표 구매했는데 성인은 대략 30파운드여서 그게 한국 원으로 한 5만 원 정도인 것 같은데 그거는 솔직히 영국 뮤지엄이면 엄청 비싸거든요. 근데 그 한 표 구매하면 1년 동안 계속 돌아올 수 있어요. 근데 약간 싱글 표가 없고 그거 무조건 구매해야 되는데 만약에 여러 번 올 거거나 아니면 영국에 살면은 그게 나쁘진 않은 것 같아요. 계속 그 표로 돌아올 수 있으니까. 확실히 여기 피키 블라인더스 촬영지가 되고 나서 가격이 훨씬 올라간 것 같아요. 옛날에 표가 그렇게 막 비싸진 않았던 것 같은데 막 그래도 좀 가격이 나가긴 했는데 이 정도는 아니었고 원래 주차도 무료였는데 지금 돈도 내야 되고 따로 그 피키 블라인더스 촬영지 지도 같은 거 팔고 있거든요. 3파운드로. 그건 그냥 구글 검색할 수 있을 텐데 그것까지 팔고 있으면은 그냥 완전. 그래도 여기는 볼 거 많으니까 만약에 버밍엄이나 블랙컨트리 지역으로 올 거면 이 박물관은 진짜 추천해요. Decide this was flower.
The engine house.
Engine room.
Well, engine house.
여기 보면 땅굴도 있는데 들어가면은 영상 촬영할 수 없기 때문에 저희가 일단 오늘 안 들어갈 건데 만약에 여기 방문하시면 땅굴도 들어갈 수는 있어요. 여기 보면은 어느 시간에 들어갈 수 있는지 다 써 있으니까 들어갈 수는 있어요. 여기 구경하면은 사람들이 옛날 옷을 입고 다니긴 하거든요. 여기 스태프가. 그래서 이 아줌마도 옛날 옷을 입었는데 아버지가 메리 퍼핀스 같다고 하더라고요. 아, 참 웃기네요. 아침부터. 여기 블랙컨트리는 원래 석탄 채굴 지역이어서 여기 석탄 다 모여 있어요. 이렇게. 여기 땅굴도 석탄 땅굴이어서 거기 안에 볼 수 있어요. 진짜 오면 옛날처럼 다 해놨거든요. 근데 제 알기로는 원래 진짜 건물들이었거든요. 어디 블랙컨트리 지역에 어디 있던 진짜 건물들이었는데 다 부시고 여기서 다 새로 만들었대요. 여기 보시면 원래 석탄 옮겼던 약간 카트 같은 거 있어요. 이걸로 원래 왔다 갔다 했나 봐요.
this wagon here, that they'd load the coal onto the wagon,
Yeah.
and it would go from all along the track and then to the end there, and tip the coal out, and then go all the way back. To
Oh,
the,
it tipped out.
the coal mine,
Yeah,
yeah.
tipped out.
Yeah.
Ah, I see. It's interesting.
Yeah.
엄마가 원래 여기서 그 석탄 땅굴에서 일을 했으면 여기는 약간 오피식으로 워커들이 여기 들어가서 출퇴근 시간 펀치를 해야 됐나 봐요. 여기서 바로 일을 시작했나 봐요. 여기 아니면 여기 석탄 땅굴에.
These bags here, they're the sacks that they put the coal into
Yeah.
to deliver to the coal merchant.
아.
So that tipped the coal out, that trolley did.
Yeah.
They got a shovel and shoveled it into those sacks.
아.
And then it was delivered to the coal merchant.
I see. And you said they were all real buildings, weren't they? Somewhere dotted around the Black Country and
Yeah, and they've all been bought here brick by brick and
Yeah.
rebuilt.
wow. It's amazing really, isn't it? Very interesting to see.
And there's this is the weighing house with the coal, this is.
아. 여기 보시면 당나귀가 있는데 옛날에 당나귀들이 그 석탄을 옮겼대요. 그래서 이렇게 약간 하르네스 같은 거에다가 넣어가지고 당나귀로 석탄을 옮겼대요. 땅굴에서. 너무 신기한 것 같아요. 엄마가 이게 옛날 스타일 정원이래요. 여기 보면은 와일드 플라워도 있고 이거는 한국에 불법인 거 알고 있는데 여기 퍼피라는 꽃이 있어요. 원래 포피시로 앞편을 만들어서 한국에 불법인 거 알고 있는데 영국에 되게 많이 볼 수 있어요. 네, 옛날 정원에 이렇게 다 직접 식물을 키웠대요. Oh, I did see a lot of wildflowers in the back garden.
Yeah, well, they plant out like they do today. They just throw seed
Did
down.
they?
In the war, the meat was on rationing,
Yeah.
and when the tax bloke and the inspector used to come round, they used
Yeah.
to move the pig from house to house so he couldn't see they got a pig.
So they couldn't tax them on
So they
it.
couldn't tax them on it.
God.
Or they'd want, or the tax people, you know, the inspector would want to take so much of the pig for the government.
They took the pig.
I feel like piggy.
Yes.
Ah,
YouTube account.
Lauren in Korea.
Lauren in Korea.
Yeah.
Hi guys. I'm Lauren in Korea.
방금 애들이 약간 학교 투어에 온 것 같은데 카메라 드니까 너 유튜브 찍냐? 이렇게 물어보니까 제가 맞다고 채널명 뭐냐고 하니까 대한영국이라고 하니까 구독하겠대요 애들이. 새로운 구독자 몇 명 생겼겠네요. 참 웃겨요. 여기 밖에서 유튜브 찍는 게 참 재밌는 경험들인 것 같아요. 옛날 승마할 때 생각나요. 제가 말을 실제로 본 지 진짜 오래됐어요. 열심히 밥을 먹고 있네요. It's an old style fair, isn't
Yeah,
it?
and the gypsy caravans,
Oh,
fairground caravans and gypsy caravans.
oh God. Are you allowed to say gypsy anymore?
Well, sure, travellers then.
Traveller.
Say gypsy, yeah, they were gypsies in those days. So.
Yeah.
As we still call them gypsies, because they used to read people's fortunes.
Ah, I like fortune teller booths.
Yeah, yeah.
여기 보시면 옛날 우체국도 있어요. 이렇게 옛날 스타일로 다 해놨으니까 너무 신기한 것 같아요. 뭔가 시간 여행하는 것 같아요, 느낌이.
We used to have lots of these outside the shops. You put your pennies in, you know, and you just.
but look at the roads,
And it goes to charity.
No, see these days, you can't have that. 여기에 전쟁 돌상도 있어. 좀 더 가까이 보자.
That's the people that died in the First and Second World War. It's the 1918 one. Those are employees of a company who died in the war. That's the Second World War. A lot of people that died, wasn't there?
It's a shame. It's always a lot of people that die for politicians' pride, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's not the people that cause the wars, it's the people that run the countries that
It
cause
is.
the wars.
Was it an old supermarket? It was a supermarket there, wasn't it? The co-op?
well, sort of thing. Yeah.
Sort of thing. 제가 이거 슈퍼마켓인 줄 알았는데 부모님이 슈퍼마켓 있기 전에 이런 가게 있었대요. 사이더 같은 것도 있어요. 이거 체리 에이드라는 거 있는데 제가 옛날에 할머니 집에서 이거 엄청 많이 마셨어요. 제가 옛날에 엄청 좋아했으니까 할머니가 항상 이것을 사줬거든요. 이거 옛날 담배였대요. 담배.
Funny, the ones in money, if they're senior service.
These or
Senior service.
these cigarettes?
One of
Cigarettes
Ah,
my dad and mum smoked them there.
these ones.
Woodbine.
아하. 옛날 차도 있고 계란이랑 케이크도 다 해놨어요. 이렇게. What's the dividend
The
number?
milkman came from the co-op. You had to give him the dividend number.
Yeah.
If you went into a co-op shop, you had a dividend number,
Yeah.
and you used to get like a bit of discount or something.
Oh, so
like
it's
that.
like points collection like they've got
Yeah,
today.
something like that. Yeah,
Bit similar.
I can still remember my mum's number.
Can
I
you?
can still remember my mother's dividend number from the co-op. It was 14278.
How long ago was that?
About 50 years ago, 60 years ago.
Wow. That's good memory, isn't it?
Yeah. It was drilled into my head. Don't forget to give them the dividend number because they used to get points for it.
Yeah. God. Now it's all on a phone.
I know.
옛날 만화인데 엄마 아빠가 이거 다 있었대요.
I know the bloke that drew it.
Auntie Vivi
Really?
used to have my weekly, and they used to have a knitting pattern in there
Knitting.
and recipes
Oh wow.
for cakes and things.
이거는 옛날에 약간
Real chocolate.
주부가 읽었던 매거진이래요.
Thin shop.
Oh, was it?
How was it? 1950 something.
이거는 1959년대 거실이래요.
Chapel, we haven't got that fallen.
The old gas fire. It's just
와, 옛날 TV 너무 신기하지 않아요?
No.
It's an old-fashioned television. Look, little baby's jacket on the door. Ducks on the wall.
It's an old knitting box as well.
It's a tiny room, isn't it?
It is. It's ever so interesting though, isn't
It
it?
is, yeah. You can't remember anything like this, can you?
I don't even think you had these kind of things when I was born, did you?
No.
Especially not the TV.
I know. Tiny screen, great big box. For the gas fire as well.
엄마가 1955년생이어서 이거는 대충 어렸을 때 기억한대요.
Hairdressers. Barbers.
이거는 옛날 영화 배우들이었는데 그 바바가 여기 스타일들이 막 붙여가지고 여중에 선택할 수 있었대요.
We're currently 1956, and this is the women's section, so I'll let you off today. So this was really a third space, a communal space. It wasn't just about getting your hair done, but rather having a natter with your neighbours. We're in small towns. But yeah, so we offered many things, but hairdressing was still, especially in smaller towns, steeped in tradition. We weren't doing any hair bleaching. We did offer it, but it was very rare. We're still quite conservative. So we just sort of stuck with the colour you had. Older women could get their greys covered up, but that was it. So you'd come here. Normally we'd offer, the most common offer was a shampoo and set for 3 shillings and 6pence. So you'd come here, you'd lean forwards. Nowadays we lean backwards. You'd lean forwards, you'd be washed, then you'd be shampooed, and then your wet hair would be put into rollers. Nobody in the 50s had straight hair. Yeah? Regardless of your natural hair, whether it was very curly, very straight, everybody wanted this sort of loose wave on the top and then a tight curl on the bottom. Yeah? So that was sort of the vibe. Celebrity culture had really picked up by this point. So many people wanted to look like what they saw on the telly. Yeah? So people like Marilyn Monroe, ever so glamorous. They wanted to replicate that sort of style. So again, smooth on the top, maybe a bit of a Marcel wave, then further down, a bit of a tight curl. So as I said, still quite conservative, still quite short. Younger women of the 50s start to grow their hair long. but it was mostly reserved for little girls. So you'd come under here for 30 minutes and then you're off. So that was our regular offer, but we offered many things. So things like blue rinses. So if you had grey hair, wanted to lighten up a bit, brighten up, you do that as well. Marcel waves, especially for weddings, special hair, stuff like that. Yeah. So still quite low key, still quite chill. Later on in the 60s, hair dyeing was more common. Big beehives, big hair. We still do have big hair. It's just not nearly as big as the 60s. No bouffants just yet, but we still don't have flat hair. Nowadays you see girls that sort of scrape their hair back. Nobody had that flat hair.
옛날 정육점입니다. 족발 옛날에 다 먹었대요. 돼지 심장, 돼지 간, 돼지 공팥 이거 다 먹었는데 요새 먹는 사람이 없어요. 옛날 가게들에 들어가면은 사람들이 옛날 옷을 입고 다니잖아요. 근데 캐릭터를 브레이킹 할 수 없어가지고 옛날 사람인 것 같은 것처럼 막 얘기를 해요. 근데 되게 신기해요, 진짜. 미용사도 정보를 많이 주고 데몬스트레이션도 주니까 진짜 시간여행 하러 온 느낌이에요, 지금. 너무 신기해요, 여기. 진짜 추천할 수밖에 없어요. 지금 가격도 올라갔고 옛날보다 비싸지만 영국에 오면 한 번 오는 게 진짜 추천해요. 옛날 TV들이에요. 어떤 거였는지 잘 모르겠는데 저희 아버지가 옛날에 TV에 채널 하나밖에 없어가지고 이런 거에다가 축구를 막 봤고 두 번째 채널 생일 때 이웃들이 와가지고 다 같이 TV를 봤대요. 다 신나가지고. 근데 지금 생각해보면은 채널들이 진짜 많고 뭐 넷플릭스라는 옵션도 있고 유튜브도 볼 수도 있고 저희가 되게 럭키한 것 같아요.
Usually probably just the usual reasons of, you know, CVs came or something. Exactly. Can't keep up with the changes. You have been taking me, haven't you? Yeah. Yeah, because usually when I ask kids about it, it's saying, because I was only a teenager, like 4 years ago, and I was
여기 옛날 펍도 있어요. 보시면 지금 옛날 펍 안에 있는데 원래 담배 필 수 있는 방이 따로 있었어요.
It was usually for gentlemen only. They wouldn't let the women in.
Not in here.
No,
Wonder what that was.
because what they wanted is like a gents only.
Can we have a look in?
Yeah.
이제 타일 보면은 되게 예쁜 것 같아요. 옛날에 예쁜 것이 되게 많았었는데 지금 현지 스타일 보면은 그냥 하얗고 캐릭터 없어 보이는 것 같아요. How do you describe a women's institute?
It's a women's, like a women's club, a women's workers' club, you know, for the ladies. But they started it mainly because the women were paid a lot less than the men,
Yeah.
and they were getting a pittance, very little money,
Yeah.
for a full day's work. It was 2.5p an hour.
Yeah.
So if they were working 10 hours,
Yeah.
it was only like 20p a day, 25p a day.
사람이 뭔가 많을 것 같아요. 소리 보니까. 근데 커피는 마셔야죠.
Do you want to?
A good strong coffee. How about you? Having a nice coffee?
Deserve it, don't I?
You do.
We're all thirsty now.
oh, coffee's not bad actually. It's a lot warmer outside than I thought it would be, considering it was raining earlier though. So probably shouldn't have worn this.
I'm glad I didn't bring the coat. I've only brought a cardigan.
I think I might have to take this off, you know.
Well, I took me pullover off before coming in.
Did you? Are you cold or are you warm?
Where to now?
Can we get some chips or?
Yeah. You hungry? Get some fish and chips then.
We can
eh?
eat in between us.
Guess you've got over your camera shyness because you didn't want to be on camera the other day, did you?
No. I feel better now. I had an haircut.
Do you? You look lovely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Big boy, but. Thank you. No wood boy. Oh, there's palm joy.
Oh, the park drive as well. But what does it mean when it says navy cut?
Something to do with the navy, I think.
That's about all I figured as well. When it says navy cut on the cigarettes.
I suppose it's what they smoked in the Navy.
Where's the wood boy?
woodbines
Yeah.
here, but it says wild woodbines. I don't know
Yeah,
if they're the
and
same. And that's what your mum used. Your mum and dad used to smoke.
Yeah, both.
Did they not used to know it was bad for them though?
No, in fact, in the army,
Yeah.
they was what's the word? Lee? They was encouraged to smoke to soothe the nerves.
As like a stress relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God. These old motorbikes.
Yeah.
옛날 오토바이 가게입니다. Should we have a look in or should we carry on?
I think your dad's at the fish and chip shop already.
아니 지금 너무 배고픈데 거의 피쉬앤칩스밖에 먹을 거 없는데 여기서 피쉬앤칩스 몇 번 먹었는데 여기는 진짜 영국에서 제일 맛있는 피쉬앤칩스인 것 같습니다.
What would you want then? Fish and chips and extra portion of chips or something?
Yeah, we can do, I think. We've got battered roe as well.
Oh, yeah.
Should we just share some fish and chips?
Oh,
I don't fancy a full portion.
no.
1인당씩 다 먹으면은 너무 좀 약간 느끼하고 부모님도 좀 느끼할 것 같다고 하니까 저희가 하나 시켜서 나눠서 먹겠습니다. 근데 메뉴 보면은 battered row이라는 거 있는데 그건 약간
What's money?
명란젓 같은 건데 튀긴 겁니다. 그거 안 먹어봤는데 살짝 궁금하긴 해요.
Oh, fish and chips, please.
You have to cook them fresh, give it 10 minutes. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
10 minutes,
okay.
anybody?
Yeah. One, yeah.
And that's 3 forks. is it?
Some forks. It'll
Oh, okay. Thank you.
£5 per fork.
£5.
Yeah, £5 per fork. You want salt vinegar as well?
Salt
Yes,
vinegar?
please.
Not really funny. Right, that's £11.95 altogether.
£20 and stuff.
It's the biggest fish and chips waiting room I've seen. If you go down the tippy now, it's only a little bench, isn't it? 피쉬앤칩스 방금 시켰는데 새로 해준다고 한 10분 정도 걸릴 것 같아요. 그래서 일단 부모님이랑 여기서 기다리고 있습니다.
There you go.
Okay, thanks, mate.
Thank you.
See ya.
Have a nice day. 저희가 피쉬앤칩스를 샀고 이제 안자리 찾아야 됩니다. 피쉬앤칩스 공개.
Unless we split the
That's good, yeah.
와, 여기 피쉬앤칩스 진짜 맛있어요. 다른 피쉬앤칩스보다는 색깔이 좀 주황색인데 소 기름으로 튀겼대요. 칩스도 옛날 스타일이고 되게 맛있을 것 같아요. 엄청 뜨거운데 맛있어요. 역시 영국 사람들한테 피쉬앤칩스는 사랑입니다. 이거는 원래 TV 설치해준 약간 서비스 차라고 해야 되나요? 그거였대요. 이거는 옛날 주유소 펌프들이래요.
I've been on one of those.
옛날 버스를 처음 타보는데 엄청 흔들려요. 저는 멀미 있는 사람인데 살짝 걱정이에요. 괜찮겠죠?
It's got to be off at 3 o'clock.
아까 입구적인데 저희가 이제 다시 걸어야 될 것 같아요. 이제 내려야 된대요. 여기 볼 거 많으니까 구경하는 시간 좀 많이 쓰는 것 같아서 여기 만약에 오려면 하루 통째 잡은 게 좋을 것 같아요. 전쟁 때 이 테이프를 해놨대요. 만약에 폭탄 날렸으면 이거 유리 다 깨지진 않게 이렇게 테이프를 했대요. 와우.
I'll still got an identity card and a ration book here now.
So the government would issue everybody one of those. You would go and register it with the local butcher, grocer, wholesaler, whoever you can see. You will only go and see them for your supplies. You go and see nobody else because you are then registered with them. And then you obviously go to them for any restricted items that you need to go and get. But then everything was then rationed either by price or by weight. Meat was the exception to that because then your meat was rationed by price rather than the weight that you bought it. Good example, you things like your pork chops, your sausages and stuff like that. They were a lot more expensive and there wouldn't be much of it because everybody was after them. But if you went for more obscure cuts of meat, so corned beef, for example, or a bit of brisket or a bit of offal, it'll cost less, but there was far more of it.
Was that a
And
weekly ration?
That was a weekly ration for one person, that's correct.
I told you about the Tuesday. It used to be about like that, and that was to feed me, my mum, my granddad, and my granny.
And that's why you have to be quite intuitive in the kitchen to make sure you fed the family for the whole week. But it became one of the sort of the best things for us really because we became so healthy. Obviously, when the war ended in '45, the rationing carried on. It didn't stop.
They used their own veg as well out of the garden, didn't
Well,
they?
that's it. We just had to start Dig for Victory, which was obviously a government incentive to encourage you to grow your own vegetables, basically. So every bit of spare land that was going was requisitioned by the government. They then said, grow your own veg out of it. So you've probably seen in the garden, it's just full of veg at the moment. There's nothing else growing in there. And of course, because of that, veg was unrationed, so you can have as much of that as you want. Same with any fruits you can grow as well.
That's why they're all slim.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say, because we became one of the healthier nations because of it.
did.
It was
patterns then.
we was healthy. You know, we was doing a lot more physical activity. For example, was eating a lot more healthier foods, and obviously things like sugar and that was also rationed.
여기 보면 야채 키우고 있거든요. 먹을 수 있는 양이 많이 없었는데 야채만 레션이 없었대요. 그래서 사람들이 다 정원에서 이렇게 야채를 키우고 있었대요. 또 얘기했던 거는 사람들이 야채도 많이 먹었고 또 사람들이 왔다 갔다 해서 막 많이 걷고 그거 보면 운동을 많이 했기 때문에 영국은 나라 중엔 되게 건강한 나라라고 생각을 했대요. 근데 최근에 스타티스틱을 봤는데 현재 영국 다이어트는 한 80% 정도 냉동식품만 먹는데요. 냉동식하고 약간 전자레인지나 오븐에만 돌리는 거 그것만 먹는다 그래가지고 지금 영국 사람들 보면은 건강하진 않은 것 같아요.
Mum and Dad, I just think like this in green.
The only thing we're missing out of that is your antimacassars because it's leather. We can just wipe
To
it
stop
off.
the men's greasy hair, Mark.
Either macassar oil or your brook cream. You might see in your hairdressers on the side.
They've got some Brussels sprouts here and it just reminds me. Mum had some Brussels sprouts recently. She didn't like
A
them.
lot of people don't like sprouts, especially children.
Said they were very bitter. How did you feel seeing the ration books when you was born on rations?
Well, that's what I said to you. There's only a bit of cheese like that. It was for my dad was still coming home from war. There was me, my mum, my granddad and my granny
Yeah.
surviving on a piece of cheese like that. And my mum used to take me up the shop
Yeah.
and put me on the counter while I got served. Knowing our mum would probably give her share to me.
I still can't believe you didn't see a banana as well until you were 10. We've got an abundance of them now, haven't we?
Yeah, 1955 I think it was, when your mum was born.
It was first banana you had.
Yeah.
That's when the rationing ended.
We do have an abundance of things these days, so I think we've got to count ourselves lucky, haven't we?
Yeah.
Because how many people was it that you had to share that cheese with then? Was it between 5 of you or 6? Four of you.
Me granddad, granny, me mum and me.
전쟁 때문에 우리 아버지가 1946년에 태어났거든요. 근데 그때 할아버지가 아직도 해외에 있었거든요. 전쟁 때문에. 그래서 아버지 처음 봤을 때 2살이어서 아버지가 되게 헷갈렸대요. 왜냐면 2살 아이인데 엄마만 알았는데 갑자기 자기 아빠지만 어떤 남자가 들어왔는데 이 사람 누구지? 생각을 했대요. Wasn't it somewhere down here that Peaky Blinders was filmed?
Yeah.
I think it was down here, wasn't it?
Yeah.
이 박물관은 몇 번 가봤지만 이거는 옛날 사탕 파는 가게라고 해야 되나요? 여기 쿠키도 팔거든요. 제가 한번 여기서 쿠키를 샀는데 너무 딱딱해서 이빨 부실 줄 알았어요. 이건 다 옛날 사탕이에요. I've got some bread pudding in the window as well. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Just look now.
I've just seen it.
이 디저트는 브레드 푸딩이라고 빵이 약간 썩어지기 전에 다 먹으면은 엿다가 뭐 우유 부으고 약간 건포도 같은 것을 넣어가지고 이것을 오븐에 굽는데 영국 사람들이 이거 되게 좋아해요.
You've got stale bread over.
Yeah.
That's what the women used to do. They used to mix it up and
With fruit. And
fruit.
Yeah, some raisins, milk, and is it some cinnamon or some
You
allspice?
Yeah, you could put that sort of if you wanted to.
I haven't had bread pudding in ages.
No.
여기는 옛날 스타일 펍인데 저희가 여기서 몇 번 뭐 음료나 맥주를 마셨습니다. 근데 오늘 주중이어서 괜찮을 것 같은데 저번에 주말에 왔으니까 사람이 좀 많았어요.
what do you want?
I'll just have some pop, please.
That's lemonade, lime and lemon.
I'll have some lemonade, please.
Half one as well.
Yes, please.
They filmed Peaky Blinders around here as well.
I know they did. I'm pretty sure they filmed it down there by the canal.
Possibly, yeah.
I think this is where they filmed the Peaky Blinders.
On the docks.
확실하진 않지만 여기가 피키 블라인더의 촬영지였던 것 같아요. 한국에 카널보트 있는지 잘 모르겠는데 여기서 사람들이 살 수는 있어요.
Travelling preachers used to have in the 19th century, in the 1800s.
Traveling
Yeah,
preachers.
they used to have a lay preacher that used to go from place to place, and they used to live in one of these and travel in it.
They used to call
Wow.
it fiery renters.
Just stand at this window here, or on a platform
Yeah.
either side and preach the gospel.
Through here.